I'm often amazed by how much we learn from our kids. One thing that has particularly struck me is their natural inclination towards nature, the outdoors, animals, and wildlife. As a family, we love rugged, untouched nature, and we spend considerable time on my parents' farm up in the hills. I'm convinced these trips are one of our kids' favorite ones. The simple joys of pure nature is immense, natural, and so pure. I'm also impressed by how much schools are doing to encourage kids to learn about saving the environment. In fact, this episode on saving the earth was suggested to us emphatically by our older son Zen, and our younger one Kai nodded in agreement. On the show today,
who likes the idea of saving the earth as a topic? Put your hands up.
That's a great idea, saving the earth. We meet the gorgeous couple Dia Mirza and Sahil Sangha to talk about environmental issues and how kids can inspire us to bring about positive change.
Nature is the kindler of conscience.
Yeah.
So stop thinking of what more you want.
Yeah.
Think of how much less
You can do with.
And
And Pow Wow with interesting individuals brings to light ways in which each of us can make a difference in saving the earth.
Behave like a miser. Just because you can have more water at your place and you can afford to have 4 cars doesn't mean that you should be having it.
Let's not think about will this save the planet or not. Let's just do what we have to do.
We all know our wildlife, nature, in fact our planet is in grave danger. Constant construction, pollution, cutting trees and other man-made destruction are threats to our earth. Our kids came home from school the other day and listed out some things we could do to help save the environment. We leave things to the government, to NGOs, to more powerful people, but actually what the kids were telling me is that we can all do our bit to help save the earth. We met some wonderful people who are doing a lot to help save our planet. Today we have a gorgeous couple with us. We have former Miss India, former Miss Asia Pacific, a wonderful actress, director, producer, and a very committed nature activist, the beautiful Dia Mirza.
Thank you, Tara.
And we have her wonderful other half, who's equally brilliant, director, writer, producer, Sahil Sangha. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having us, really.
So let's start at the very beginning.
Ooh,
A very good place to start.
start.
You know, I read up a bit about you, and of course, I've known you for a long time.
Yeah.
You grew up always very close to nature and have always had a love for nature. So tell us a bit about that.
I think what happened as a byproduct of the fact that I was living in a city like Hyderabad
Yeah.
and an area like Jubilee Hills where my early childhood was spent was that there were so many rocks there and there was open spaces, a lot of greenery, live
Yeah.
streams. So there was really an abundance of nature within the home and outside of it.
Yeah.
But I think that my parents also were very, very conscious about the importance of having access to nature and just giving me the time with open spaces and just being out. I know for a fact that if my mother had not pointed out plants to me and shared their names with me, the fact that they're responsive to human beings, the fact that they have, they have a language,
Yeah.
that they respond to music. These fascinations that she had were things that contributed to the things that I've eventually been drawn to or
Absolutely.
been fascinated by. My father used to say that you could be a scientist, you could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, but you can be none of those things if you can't tell stories. And
And
it's the most important aspect of human endeavor.
Absolutely. And it's funny because actually when I was reading, I found quite a lot of parallels because we have a farm which is up in the hills and we spent a lot of our childhood there. And my mom also came to India overland
Yeah.
45
Wow.
years ago.
Wow.
And I
I've got
read that your father
goosebumps.
did too.
Yeah.
So I think that love of nature
But
is
it
perhaps something that's in your genes. And as you said, with city-born kids, do you think that this is a love that's so intrinsic or do you think you can learn to love it?
I think it's intrinsic to human nature. The good news is that there are so many schools doing wonderful work, there are organizations doing wonderful work, trying to reintroduce children to nature. I'm goosebumping out talking about it. But we work with Kids for Tigers, which is one of the most brilliant programs run in the country by Bittu Sehgal.
Yes.
And this, for me, is his greatest legacy.
Yeah.
Because what he's doing by using the tiger as a metaphor for all nature and working with children is that he is creating a generation of people who understand what's going wrong better than most grown-ups do.
Absolutely. And Sahil, coming to you, you've created this film
Short
together
film, yeah.
with Dia. Did you also have this intrinsic love for nature, or is it something that Dia's rubbed off on you?
You see, I'm a city kid.
Right.
There's no nature deficit per se
Yeah.
in my life. Maybe because on summer vacations I went to my grandparents' homes and I experienced nature. They were living in Ranchi on a range altogether. So I've, seen cows, wells, monkeys, rabbits, and, that big katthal ka ped and all, like
Yeah, yeah.
literally all those fairy tale story books. So yes, I've had all of those experiences. But I think children in general are immediately curious, and you give them an inch and they'll take a mile in terms of their relationship with nature, and they will force opportunities to be involved in their daily routine. Now, coming back to what Bit 2 is doing with Kids for Tigers and Dia's involvement in mine, in whichever which way I can be a part of it, I think on the front, Dia definitely steals the march over me, because Dia's like all heart. I'm not as all heart as Dia, right?
No, but I think, you know what? We
Tara,
actually...
have you seen the film?
I have.
The
It's
words,
lovely. It's
right?
lovely.
Those words were written by Kara and Sahil.
Yeah.
And when I read the script, I was like, wow. So I think inherently he gets it
Yeah.
and
yeah.
he feels it. I would be terrified if I was married to a man who didn't understand why nature is so important and why I am so driven by this need to wake people up and say,
Yeah. And I think you touch upon a really important point that honestly with kids it's very intrinsic. Especially when I look at our little ones, honestly their best trips are on our farm where it's
Yeah.
pure wilderness.
They
the
want to
wild.
run. They want to just
want to
go
climb
out there.
trees.
Yeah.
we're all animals
Yeah.
first.
I completely agree, and I think, which I think is really important as parents, is to actually be very careful not to instill any fear in kids.
Yes.
Because I think
Absolutely,
even
yeah.
love for animals is actually
Yeah.
a very natural thing.
It's a planet we share with other creatures.
Absolutely.
And we have to learn to respect that. I'm saying, okay, you may not love them, but at least don't feel intimidated or threatened or scared of them. I mean, there's so much man-animal conflict on the rise because we've taken over their homes.
Yeah.
We've built roads in their forests and we're uprooting them. We're destroying their homes. We can't behave like we own it all.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
and we can do anything and get away with it
Yeah.
because the consequence of those actions is damning and it's harming us. It's going to kill us.
Absolutely.
Our survival is at threat, you know, and
Yeah.
it's we are stupid.
Yeah, so in fact, what becomes clear to me when I hear the kids come home and talk about saving the earth or whatever is that they're being taught that everyone can do their little bit.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think
that's
that's
what the
the
Kids for
message.
Tigers program does. So when we talk to children in schools, we always tell them that every time you save water, you're saving the tiger. Every time you reduce your consumption. So stop thinking of what more you want.
Yeah.
Think of how much less
You can do with.
you can do with.
Yeah.
Bittu says this. You don't need to be an activist to save the earth.
Absolutely.
You can be a writer, you can be an actor, you can be a poet, you could be anybody. But as long as you bring that consciousness and that awareness that what your choices, your actions have a connection and a repercussion with the environment, then you will start making better choices.
I think that's beautifully said, and I think it's everyone's story. You know, all of us
Absolutely.
coexist. All of us have to,
Absolutely.
you know, be careful of what we do with and to nature.
And it's also, Tara, it's impossible for children to develop any sense of awe, admiration, enthusiasm for any activity if parents don't feel it.
Absolutely.
Children are like penguins, you know, they follow their parents.
Yeah, that's very
And
sweet.
So it's
It's
both
both ways,
ways,
both
right?
But the fact of the matter is that we've been callous with what surrounds us, and that ideology and that mindset that, look, as long as my home is clean, it's all right. And it's the ripple effect. If you just thought that, okay, not just my apartment, but my floor landing. Not just my floor landing, just my building.
Yeah.
Not just my building, but you know what? The street outside my
area,
house. Now,
yeah.
if everyone just thought of that much, we'd be living in a really clean city all the time,
Yeah.
right through the year.
What the call of the hour is a conscience awakening. And nature is the kindler of conscience.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It is what reminds you that you are.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that awareness is what then guides every action in life, every choice.
I think you guys are making a wonderful start, and honestly, The awareness that can be raised by having a public voice is something that I think you're doing really beautifully. And on that note, we are running an auction where we're raising awareness for a cause, an NGO of your choice.
There's an annual event of flooding that happens in Assam. It's actually a very integral part of the region because it kind of helps the biodiversity. But because of malpractice and corruption and just bad human choices, the flooding has worsened. And this year it's been really devastating.
Yes.
So I think it'll be wonderful for us to be able to contribute to the Wildlife Trust of India
That's
for
wonderful.
all those animals who are trapped and are being rescued in Assam as we speak, in Kaziranga.
That's a wonderful, wonderful cause. So we'd love you to pick a piece of pepper fry furniture, something that you like. Let's see if Sahil can match that with his choice of the piece.
I have pepper fry. So
Let's
That.
see. That was a quick one. Thank you so much for making a difference. That's lovely. Thank you guys so much. Dia, that's lovely.
Thank you, Tara. I love what you're doing with this show. More
And I
power
love
to
all
you.
the stuff you're doing. It's Mutual Admiration Club.
Yes, it is.
Nah, and as I
But for
said,
all the
these,
right reasons.
Yeah.
Keep going. Keep doing this because we need it.
Thank you, and same to you, both of you.
thank you.
Coming up, a Pow Wow with 3 interesting individuals who use different ways to tackle environmental issues and encourage others to contribute to the cause.
Let's not think about will this save the planet or not. Let's just do what we have to do. You can't be neutral. You're either killing it or you're protecting it.
I was brought up to love nature, and I'm thrilled to see that our kids seem to love nature and animals too.
Look here, Farmer Zen. Isn't that lovely? There's your first green salad that Zen's picked out of the garden.
Not all of us are experts or activists, yet we could all do our bit to help save the earth. We met 3 wonderful women from different professions and different walks of life who are doing their bit for this topic. We have with us 3 wonderful guests who are doing their bit to help save the environment. Let's start with you, Anshu. Recently on Facebook, I saw some lovely photos of your kitchen garden and how you were growing some vegetables that you were also eating. So where did you come up with this idea, and do you actually grow much organic stuff? What's your take on that?
So for me, growing vegetables in my small little window is not about, you can never grow enough to have your kitchen going, but it's more to connect my kids and myself to actually understand where the food comes from. Otherwise, they would just grow up thinking that it comes from supermarkets.
Yeah.
And it's good fun. It's really very fulfilling when you see that one brinjal coming up, or
Yeah, also there is all this discussion about, is organic produce economically viable for the farmer? Do you have some views on that?
In your conventional farming, where a farmer has to continuously keep on investing in seeds, fertilizers to enrich his soil, whereas in organic, it's like a slow process. But your soil is not getting eroded, and the produce will also increase, but one has to be patient. Same is like, if we have to start using solar, why we don't go for solar? Because it's expensive initially, but in long run, we actually recover the cost.
Just recently on the farm, my mother was cooking pasta on the solar cooker. It was so hot that it cooked, and the kids were so thrilled. What did you make, Zen, on your solar cooker?
Rice and pasta. So
On our
solar
farm.
cooking helps to save the earth. It helps electricity and gas, because that time the sun is not electricity, but when the sun comes through this solar cooker, it will make delicious food, and that's how the electricity stays and doesn't get wasted.
It took longer, but they were so thrilled with the result. Made me realize also that things like this, actually, if kids see it at a young age, the excitement of it and understanding that, yes, some things take longer, but sometimes the reward of it is better, So I think it's like a metaphor for so much of what we do, right? So now coming to you, Rajveer, we all talk about our consumption as individuals, but when you come to, large groups of people, and in a hotel, for example, there's so much consumption. So is there anything you as the Taj Group at Taj Lands End does to minimize consumption and honestly to save the environment?
So Tara, what we do as a hotel is we have environmental targets. So every year we try to reduce by 5% on various, four key aspects basically. One is waste, energy, water, and greenhouse gases emissions basically. Basic idea, in the cafeteria, what we do is we've put a nice board wherein, every day the amount of food that has been consumed and then wasted, that's noted on the cafeteria, so that as a part of this team we are conscious
Not
as
to waste.
Exactly.
Right.
And in terms of water and laundry, what we do is we reduce the consumption of water by merely reducing the wash cycle timing.
Okay.
So there are various little steps that we've taken that helps us reduce the consumption in terms of electricity, in terms of water consumption, in terms of energy.
I know the kids are really very conscious about saving the environment. I'm grateful to schools because I do find that they do stress this. Now, Dr. Shubha Lakshmi, you do a lot of work with children. Do you find that they sort of intrinsically have this love for nature, or is it something that you have to teach them?
As you rightly said, that now the children are more aware, and I think thanks to the education system, where environmental studies has become part of the curriculum. But what really happens, because we have seen that when you tell children about pollution, when you talk about garbage, they always feel burdened. A child in fact told me that why everyone preaches us, we didn't do anything wrong. It's all my parents or the elders have done it. Why you people are putting all the responsibility on us? So the best way of telling a child about environment is show them what is beautiful in environment.
Absolutely.
For the kids, it's a double whammy. Now they have to balance the technological advances and the environmental consciousness together. I think our generation didn't even know what we were really doing or what was the repercussion of it.
Yeah.
But now we are at a stage that we know and we have technology at our disposal. But we have to use it in a way that it's enforcing the protection of earth and not taking away from it.
So this actually brings me back to you, Dr. Shubha Lakshmi, because you actually want to use technology to encourage an appreciation for nature. So how do you do that?
The new generation children are more using their gadgets and they're not going outdoors. Can we take children away from technology? I don't think so it's possible, because this is going to be a mainstay in their life throughout. So we took the theme as urban biodiversity. We developed mobile apps to observe local birds. It is called iNature Watch Birds. You can observe butterflies. It is called iButterflies, and trees, that is called iTrees. And the whole idea was that children and parents can just go around and just start looking around, because these are the indicators of our city's environment. As long as you see these things around you, you are still living in a heaven.
Actually, it's true that instead of sort of being a bit old-fashioned and saying, oh no, technology only, let's be outdoors, maybe you can actually find a way of mixing the two.
That's
where
right.
you can use one to appreciate the other and to help.
While your life has become very convenient, if you have to be environment friendly, think of putting some inconvenience in your life. Behave like a miser.
Right.
It's not that you can afford, so you can spend.
What do you suggest then for saving the earth?
Tell people not to kill animals and not to chop trees and to pick up garbage on the road and not to throw garbage on the road.
As a big hotel, you of course have managed to have a wonderful location with the Taj Lands End where you're looking out at the sea. Is there anything that you do with the employees to actually make sure that this remains?
When Swachh Bharat Abhiyan became such a rage, we actively till date ensure that we do regularly every month the clean drive which you're talking about. In terms of laundry, housekeeping and dishwash areas, we try to replace our chemical products with the eco-friendly labeled products basically. And also as a hotel, we actively participate every year in Earth Check certification. So it's a world's leading scientific certification. So they keep in mind various, key performance areas. So based on that, we've been gold certified, and year after year, we try to ensure that, we outdo ourselves. And now next target is, platinum certification.
Those are all great points. As a closing, is there anything you'd like to say to our viewers, anything to encourage them on how they can help save the environment?
While we are standing and appreciating and enjoying nature, are we really thinking that are we destroying it or are we saving it?
Right.
You can't be neutral. You're either killing it or you're protecting it. Let's not think about will this save the planet or not. Let's just do what we have to do.
Ajbir, is there anything you'd like to say as a closing comment?
You walk out of your room or your office, just switch off the lights, or even the things like using recycled papers, just don't let it go waste.
Yeah.
So these little things, if we can incorporate in our day-to-day life, I am sure that we can bring that major impact which we're supposed to.
While your life has become very convenient, if you have to be environment friendly, think of putting some inconvenience in your life. Behave like a miser. Try to save everything.
Right.
It's not that you can afford, so you can spend.
Right.
Just because you can pay the electricity bill, just because you can have more water at your place and you can afford to have 4 cars, doesn't mean that you should be having it. So this kind of mindset or this kind of thinking, if parents bring in, I think this is a value system, what we can pass on to our children.
I think you all have shed so much light on this. I think there are definitely grave concerns, but at the same time, there's a lot of progress being made where technology is being used to help. So thank you all so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
I was brought up to love nature. My parents always loved nature and continue to do so. My dad was an author and a playwright and known for his wonderful speaking voice.
He'd spend a lot of time on our farm writing and even wrote some books about our dog, like Dog Detective Ranjha.
My mum is English and came to India over 45 years ago. Her sense of adventure and love for nature is intrinsic.
Hey, look here, Farmer Zen. Isn't that lovely? There's your first green salad that Zen's picked out of the garden.
So I guess my sister and I grew up to love nature, as does Rupa. And I'm thrilled to see that our kids seem to love nature and animals too, and in their way do their bit to protect them. And here are some of those tips our kids gave me to help try and save the earth.
Who likes the idea of saving the earth as a topic? Put your hands up.
That's a great idea, saving the earth. What do you suggest, Zen, for saving the earth? What are some of your tips?
Tell people not to kill animals and not to chop trees and to pick up garbage on the road and not to throw garbage on the road.
And also don't waste water.
When you use the water, then after that it gets dirty. Then when it's dirty, you can clean it and make it clean again and then keep doing that.
Oh, like recycling water.
Yes.
That's a very good tip. And as I always say, I learn so much from the kids. We all do. And each to their own, but there's a lot to learn from everyone. Zen's teaching us about saving the earth and Kai's teaching us how to burp. So on that note, thank you both very much for coming on the show.
Stop tickling me.
Clearly, this is a very important and serious issue and not something we can find a solution to in a simple episode like this. But I'm an optimist and I like to believe things will get better. I think campaigns like Swachh Bharat, the Wash campaign for sanitation, so many green initiatives, and all the little things we can do to help save the environment eventually will help do so. So on that note, I'm going to go home and try and implement some of the things our kids suggested we do. Do write in to me on our social media handles, and for latest updates, do log on to our website. Till we meet again, bye-bye.
Next week, we meet
The wonderful Bobby Deol, famous actor, doting dad, and great friend to Indira Budani, who founded the Gateway School of Mumbai that empowers children with learning challenges. It aims to arm these children with the skills, knowledge, attitudes, and values to enable them to be independent and successful and contribute actively to society.